Welcome inside the league here on Stadium. I'm your host, Dave Ross, and today, gentlemen, with Mark Dominik, our GM, our linebacker, Lorenzo Alexander, and our quarterback, Jordan Palmer, we have got a different style show here on Inside the League. It's the mock draft version of the show, so we're going to break down the entire first round of the draft. Now, gentlemen, we were all given a task of 2 divisions each in the NFL that we would be in charge of as general managers, so we all get to play a little Mark Dominik today. I was given the AFC North and the NFC East. Zoe, you got the AFC East and the NFC West. Jordan, you have the AFC West and the NFC South. And our actual GM, who probably has an advantage in this whole thing, AFC South and the NFC North. So, gentlemen, by the 2 divisions that I was given, I had 3 of the first 4 picks. So we'll show you how it went down for picks 1 through 5. No surprise, I don't think, off the top here, gentlemen, with Joe Burrow and Chase Young 1 and 2. And then really, I think at 3 is where this draft started. Mark Dominik drafting for the Lions. You took Isaiah Simmons at 3. Explain why that was the pick for Detroit.
You know, I just think he's one of those check-the-box linebackers. And what do I mean by that? He makes tackles behind the line of scrimmage. He makes tackles across the line of scrimmage, sideline to sideline. He creates interceptions. He forces fumbles. He recovers fumbles. He does everything you want a linebacker to do. He's got speed, athleticism, ability to drop in coverage. He can fit in a 4-3 or a 3-4 defensive scheme. So he does everything I'd ever want a linebacker to do, and therefore he gets to go number 3 to the Detroit Lions, who desperately need help on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lorenzo, as our resident linebacker here, look, I think we all know about Joe Burrow and Chase Young. We talked about those 2 guys in previous Inside the Leagues. But what is it from the linebacker position that would make Mark's pick look like a good one at 3?
You know what I love? I think the biggest thing is his versatility. We know about his athleticism, but his versatility to be able to come off the edge, play off the ball, cover out in the slot. You really give your defensive coordinator, Greg Williams, who's a smart guy down there, a lot of flexibility in how he wants to attack opposing offenses. And so the thing is going to be is not to get too cute too early with him, but obviously allow Isaiah Simmons to develop into his first and second down base packages. And then as they get comfortable, you can start getting real fancy about how you attack offenses and their protections, because he's able to do so many different things. And you can essentially have maybe 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 linebackers on the field where he's a rush in, and maybe he's dropping, maybe he's coming, and it really creates a lot of indecision. So I can't wait to see what Greg Williams is able to do if they take him overall at 3.
You know, and I was a little bit upset as the acting Dave Gettleman for the Giants at 4 because, you know, you're thinking Lawrence Taylor, he's going to be a perfect fit in New York to get that roam linebacker that can play multiple positions. But then you get Jedrick Willis Jr. for the Giants at 4. And gentlemen, correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but to me, this is actually going to be a safer pick for Gettleman because he wants to control the line of scrimmage. And I think when you get a big hoss like this out of Alabama that can play right tackle, left tackle, protecting the blind side of Tua Tagovailoa at Alabama, maybe he can make that transition to left tackle and do the same for Danny Dimes. You can actually get back to running the football in New York with Saquon Barkley, and maybe that takes pressure off Daniel Jones going forward. So even though it might not have been the pick that Gettleman wants it for, I think Willis is not a bad fallback plan at 4. I do want to go to 6 through 10. And Jordan Palmer, you've been quiet so far, but then you made a very loud statement. When you look at what the Chargers did with Jordan Love as the 3rd quarterback there off the board, why, Jordan, is he the right fit in LA?
Well, I think if they had a chance at him, they would have taken it. And I think that in this draft, if they had a chance at Tua, they would take him as well. They don't. And if you need a quarterback and you have one you like, in my opinion, you can't take him too high. So I understand when it's all said and done, if we could all just have clickers in our hands and a whiteboard that we're drawing stuff up on and an air-conditioned setting and can make our picks with nothing else happening, that most teams would love to take him later. But look, there's a couple of teams that really like him that are in the middle of the first round. And if you're sitting there at 6 and you think there's a chance that someone else could pass you, if you wait or trade back, then you got to go get him right now. And they've got Tyrod Taylor, who's entrenched. He can be a starter right now. He can play at a really high level, can be the perfect bridge quarterback. I love Jordan Love to sit for a year and go more with the Mahomes model. I think Tyrod would be a great person to play the Alex Smith character in that story, and that's why I got him that high.
And again, we saw this in New York with Daniel Jones and Dave Gettleman. People went, oh, you drafted him too high. But to your point, Jordan, if that's the guy you want and you know other teams are going to take him a little bit later in that same round, you better get him early. Mark, let's go to you down there in Jacksonville as the GM, where you get Javon Kinlaw. But I do wonder, Derek Brown went 2 picks before. Was he the guy you really wanted before Jordan took him for the Panthers there, just a couple slots before you?
You know, not really. I actually was very happy to get Kinlaw where I got him at number 9, because when you look at this draft, there's not a lot of depth at defensive tackle. And quite honestly, this is one of those rare people. There's not a lot of guys on this earth that look like him, that are this big, this strong, this powerful, get off the ball the way he can, disrupt. He's unique, and you saw with Calais Campbell leaving, this is an important part of their defense. They have to shell back up. So I was actually very excited he didn't come off the board early. Classic GM here. We were just surprised he was still on the board.
And speaking of still on the board, when you get Okudah at 8, Lorenzo Alexander, for your old team there in Arizona, I know you must be thinking that's the steal of picks 1 through 10, don't you?
Yeah, I was loving it, especially here in Arizona. We've kind of neglected the defense over the last 3 or 4 years. To get in a generational player like Okudah, who's very athletic, skilled, great feet, has great ball skills. I think about guys like Tre'Davious White, Stephon Gilmore, and what they've done for their defenses. I was able to get a guy that's going to make this defense immediately that much better. And it's just amazing that he's also going to be able to play alongside Patrick Peterson, one of the best guys to ever do it, to really learn from. And so with all those things, this is going to be a great pick here at number 8 for the Cardinals.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you have a perfect guy to learn from, no doubt about that. Let's go now to our double-digit portion of the first round. And Jordan, let's go back to you as the GM of the new Las Vegas Raiders. The pick at 12 is what catches my eye there. The first wide receiver off the board. And then, of course, that starts the run on receivers. So, Jordan, you're sitting there. You can have any receiver you want. Why is Jerry Jeudy the right pick?
Well, I think if you look at for the same reasons that Mayock and Gruden brought Antonio Brown into Oakland at the time, it was they wanted somebody who can make big plays, and not only in the screen game, but to push the ball down the field. And yeah, they got Derek Carr. They're going to continue to have rumors around drafting their quarterback for the next couple of years. And so to get a receiver here who can kind of do it all. He's not a high risk, high reward guy. I think he's got a really high ceiling, but I think he has a really high floor. He's played for Coach Saban, so he's been asked to do a lot of things. He's been asked to be responsible. You have to be professional. If you look at some of these Alabama receivers that have come into the NFL, they're not just talented, they're also professional. He's played in big games. He's had a ton of eyeballs on him. I've been around him since high school. This guy's been a big deal since high school, so the moment is not too big for him. And I think he can play with a lot of different quarterbacks. You can ask him to do a lot of different things, and you said it. This starts the run.
And here we go. Lorenzo, you had the next pick for San Francisco. Emmanuel Sanders no longer there, and you go right to CeeDee Lamb. Did you want Jerry Jeudy? Be honest. Or was CeeDee Lamb the guy you wanted in San Fran?
Well, I love CeeDee Lamb. Why would I want Jerry Jeudy when I can get CeeDee Lamb? Obviously, both guys are talented, but really love CeeDee Lamb's playmaking ability, being able to stretch the field. And I think that was one of the things the 49ers have really been missing, watching last season and really in that Super Bowl. Have a great run game, but was never really able to stretch the field and open up maybe that intermediate game for Jimmy G. And so I think a guy like CeeDee Lamb is going to be great, has great hands, great body control, strong lower body, and can take screens and hitches to the house as well. And so I'm really looking forward to what they're going to be able to do with the run game. With him stretching the field, it's really going to start more looking like that Atlanta offense that we think about when Kyle Shanahan was there and he had his monsters there.
Mark, as our real GM, did our other GMs here get it right with those two going Jeudy first and then CeeDee Lamb second?
Yeah, that's exactly how I have him on my board, and I like him for two different things. Jeudy, I think, is so good at getting open and getting uncovered because he's got such great body control and quickness. So I like that in terms of knowing John Gruden's office, having worked with John Gruden for all those years in Tampa Bay. I see the fit as a West Coast wide receiver. And then with CeeDee Lamb, what you love is the power and the strength. And that's one thing that's important to Shanahan is to be able to break tackles and take small throws to big houses. So like Lorenzo just talked about, he brings an explosive play. So they both have unique traits that are a little different, but they both fit the offenses completely right.
And then you come back, Jordan, at 15 for Denver, and the third receiver goes off the board here out of LSU. Tell us about Justin Jefferson and why he's the right fit.
Well, Justin Jefferson it's him and Judy really on my board is 1A and 1B. And so what I did is I split these two picks out into who I thought was a better fit for Oakland or for the Raiders and a better fit for the Broncos. And Justin Jefferson's a perfect fit for Drew Lock. When you look at Drew Lock's sophomore year, the year before he came out, what he did, he led the SEC, broke the SEC record for touchdown passes. The system that they ran there under Josh Heupel was it was prolific, it was spread, and what Drew was able to do is get the ball out of his hand quickly and make quick decisions, especially on perimeter throws down the field. Is it going to be in the top fade or is it going to be back shoulder? Drew is really, really good at this. I trained Drew for the draft. I've been around him a lot. The big-bodied player with great body control is going to suit him better than somebody who runs better routes or a really quick guy after the catch. He wants a guy that he can throw open. He's done it in college, and he did it a little bit last year, and this is the perfect receiver to complement him.
All right, very interesting. AFC West getting a little bit faster so far with these wide receiver picks. We are just about halfway home, gentlemen, in our first round of the mock draft. When we come back, we'll go down and delve a little bit deeper. Justin Herbert still on the board. Where's he going to go? We'll tell you when you come back with us. Continue the mock draft first round right here inside the Loop. Here inside the league with Mark, Zoe, and Jordan. Gentlemen, it is the mock draft edition version of Inside the League. Let's get to the middle round of this first round, going 16 through 20 here. We get some guys that can get after the quarterback, starting to come off the board here. Starting off Jordan right there, we hit Caleb Chason coming off the edge there. You could have had AJ Epinesa, but you went with Chason. Why is he the right fit in the ATL?
Well, I just think it's speed and versatility for Caleb Chason, and if you look at Atlanta, I mean, there's they've been prolific on offense, but that defensive line, the whole defensive line, is pretty depleted. They've got Grady Jarrett's kind of the only real mainstay. Vic Beasley and Tack McKinley have not really lived up to the potential that a lot of people thought that they had, and so to be able to kind of restart that, get in there a versatile young player with a high motor, who's played at a high level and coming from a program with the championship like that, that's used to winning, to really make sure that Dan Quinn on that defensive side of the ball, he's not just got a dog over there, but he's also got a guy with a winning mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. Drafting for the Cowboys at 17, I took C.J. Henderson out of Florida, the second best corner, I thought, in the draft here. But then, Zoe, you come right back here, and you do take A.J. Epinesa. Why is he the better fit for you in Miami?
I just really love his size and power and versatility. I mean, he's 6'6", 275, can run, and I've always liked big speed because it's a hard matchup. And then his motor is second to none. I mean, we've always been taught that if the force players on the outside turn the ball in as defensive linemen, inside the numbers, you're supposed to make that play. This kid plays sideline to sideline, will make the play even outside of the numbers. He can win in one-on-one matchups, very versatile. He can play traditional 4-3 defensive end. He can play 3-4 defensive end, and then you can slide him inside where he can play the 3 technique and pass rushing downs. And if you get into a pinch, he can even probably play a 3 technique on first and second down as well. And then his biggest potential is his ability to create turnovers. When he gets to the quarterback, when he gets to the ball carrier, he has a knack of getting the ball out. And turnovers lead to winning games. And so with all those things, I really love drafting him where I drafted him.
Now, as the GM for the Eagles at 21, I was looking my chops maybe for a wide receiver out of Alabama. And then Mark Dominik, of course, is a true GM here, drafting for the Colts. They didn't have a first-round pick, but you slide in at 20 and take Henry Ruggs. Now, you did this by giving up 2 second-rounders in that trade at 20. Tell me why, Mark, that actually would be a good trade for both teams.
Well, I like it for Jacksonville. Look, they've already got a chance to draft in this draft early on. They got Kinlaw, which they're very excited about. Doing this trade for Jacksonville gives them 4 picks in the second round, a ton of ammunition to do a lot of damage. I think is a very good second round. So for Jacksonville, they've already got their poster child. And one of those 4 picks, they could have a chance to get maybe a next year's one if somebody's really interested or desperate of trading. So having 4 picks in the second round for Jacksonville was too intriguing. For the Colts, look, they've got Phillip Rivers there. They got Jacoby Brissett. They've got playmakers, but they need the young playmaker, and they needed Ruggs, and they know that Ruggs is about to come off the board. And I love that I did this to you right before you got to pick your picks. It's classic how you feel in a draft room when this happens to you. But Ruggs brings this physical element to his game. He's tough, he's strong, he's powerful with the ball in his hands. And when you talk to Alabama players, I'm telling you, split down the middle. Half of them love Ruggs, half of them love Judy. So I love this pick, and I'm happy for the Colts to get themselves another great playmaker on that side of the ball.
Now, I listened to our GM here, gentlemen, on the show, and he told me a long time ago, when you go to the podium, act like that's the guy you want. So I got to take Brandon Ayuk at 21st and somehow act like I didn't want Henry Ruggs if I'm the Eagles. Jordan, why is Ayuk, a good pick here, maybe as the 4th or 5th, in this case, wide receiver off the board in the first round?
But when I think of the young quarterbacks, the young franchise guys in the NFL who are either working on a second contract or recently received one, and that's Carson Wentz. Carson is probably on the upper echelon of quarterbacks group that are going to really work with their pass catchers. You're going to really want smart guys where he can understand and make sure that his wide receivers understand leverages and coverages, and not just about running and getting open, but how to maximize every single aspect of the offense. Carson Wentz is enamored by all of the little tiny details, and he's been craving this receiver. Brandon Ayuk, a guy I've spent time with, off the charts intelligent, really smart, blue collar, hungry dude, but he's got explosive plays on tape. If you get him the ball quickly in the screen game, he can go. He had a couple plus 50-yard receiving touchdowns that were screens, but he also can track the ball down the field. And Carson Wentz, I think, throws one of the best deep balls in the league. So I actually think that Brandon Ayuk is a perfect fit for Carson Wentz and what they're trying to do in Philly.
I feel so much better now about my pick. Lorenzo, you got to be Bill Belichick here at 23. Not many people get that that distinction. And you didn't go quarterback, but you went after a guy that didn't get after the quarterback. Why is that the right fit in New England?
Well, I believe everybody wants somebody to replace Tom Brady, and it's already hard enough to be a first-round quarterback, but now you have to draft a young kid that has to replace the GOAT. Really didn't want to go in that direction, and I really think it's going to come down to the defense if the Patriots want to be good next year and still be contenders. I think people overlooked that they lost Jamie Collins as well as Kyle Van Noy in free agency, and so I wanted to bring in somebody that was going to be able to replace those guys and help supplement that defense off the edge. And obviously, Gross Mantos is one of those guys. I think he fits the Patriots way, blue collar, fundamentally sound, and goes out there and makes plays. And I think coming from Penn State and having that type of pedigree fits perfectly into a Belichick run defense.
Yeah, I love that rationale, Zoe. And Mark, let me ask you about that very quickly, because that's something I don't think a lot of people are taking into account. The pressure of replacing Tom Brady. Is that smart by Zoe to go defense and not put all the pressure on whoever the first-round pick could be for the Patriots at quarterback?
Yeah, you don't want to create a quarterback just because you need one. You can't do that, or that's how you get yourself in a lot of trouble, even though it's gnawing at you, bothering you, that you've got to attack the position. But I also think that they feel pretty good about Jarrett Stidham, and that he had some experience last year and got to learn under Tom Brady to give him a chance to be the quarterback for this football team. I don't think they're done yet. I think that, Zoe's going to go back in there. He's going to grab one of these quarterbacks in round 2 or 3, do what they've done before with Jimmy Garoppolo or Jacoby Brissett, and pull out another guy that's going to compete. And that's what I think the Patriots will do this year.
All right, let's see what they do. But I like that rationale there, gentlemen. Let's go now towards the end of the draft here. And I'm going to take Grant Delpit to go to Baltimore here as a safety coming off the board at 28. And so I do want to get your thoughts very quickly. My rationale here, obviously LSU, the pedigree and all that. But when you get to learn, and you said this in Arizona, for a young corner to learn from Patrick Peterson, I got a safety in Earl Thomas to go ahead and teach this guy how to play the game. How effective is that? Because you've taught a lot of guys in your days as a linebacker. How important is that?
It makes a big difference. I mean, now you have a guy that's pretty much force feeding you all the information that you need. So you're able to cut out a lot of the fat, a lot of the distractions, and go straight to the point. And you may not have to make some of the mistakes that the guy that you may potentially be replacing or playing with, his same mistakes. And so it just fast tracks guys, and they come in and play a lot better because they have a confidant that they trust in. And so they go out there and play with confidence and make plays much earlier in their career when they have a veteran that they can learn from.
Absolutely. And then, of course, the GM of the Packers shocks the world, and finally Justin Herbert comes off the board, and we see this at 30, so that's going to be coming up right there And I know this is going to send shockwaves because if we go back, it's a case of history repeating. You got Brett Favre. You take some guy, Aaron Rodgers, in the first round. He sits for about a decade and then finally plays. Mark, is Aaron Rodgers going to be okay with this pick?
No, he's going to hate this pick. He's going to have another chip on his shoulder. He thought Alex Smith was bad enough. Now this happens to him, but history repeats itself. The Packers over here, they go, and Brian Gutekunst, who's in that draft room when they made this pick before with Aaron Rodgers, is now the GM of this football team. And they're looking at Justin Herbert going, we didn't want to take him. We didn't feel like we had to take him. But we have him as the 6th or 7th best player in the draft, so we got to take him. And so I see history repeat itself with the Green Bay Packers, and if it works out the way it has before, it's about as unfair for every other team in the National Football League to sit there and think you got a chance at a franchise quarterback for 3 straight decades, almost 4 between the 3 of them. That'd be incredible, but too much value there for Gutekunst. He had to pull the trigger.
Okay, Jordan, let me go to our resident quarterback here inside the league. So what about Justin Herbert here at 30? Mark likes the value. What do you think of the quarterback? Can he play at this level, at a high level?
Well, I think there's similar knocks on these guys coming out of college, and that was that they don't have big personalities and that they weren't necessarily the coolest, most popular guy who's really extroverted. I've heard that about Justin Herbert. I believed that about Aaron. We're about the same age. We've been knowing him since high school. That's always been his deal. And so I think they're similar in that regard. But look, a lot of the great players, when they have somebody young back them up, the younger player takes on some of their traits. Certainly in how they prepare, but on the physical side, you see guys start to throw like the other guys. For example, watching Matt Flynn when he threw at LSU versus when he got a $15 million, whatever it was, contract leaving Green Bay, he looked and gunned the way he threw the ball, a lot of similarities. And a lot of times these younger guys take on these older guys' traits. And look, Aaron, his feet never came off the ground at Cal when he threw. The only other player's feet who did was Brett Favre. He started playing with him for a few years, and he started taking a lot of things from Brett's game and added it. So if you look at Justin Herbert, the things that I'm not a huge fan of in Justin Herbert, I might flip if I watch Justin Herbert play after backing up Aaron Rodgers for 2 or 3 years. So I'm with Mark.
And that'll do it for Inside the League, the mock version thereof for our actual GM, Mark Dominik, our linebacker, Lorenzo Alexander, and our quarterback, Jordan Palmer. I'm Dave Ross. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time right here, Inside the League.